Are you tired of having your servants die all the time? Want to finish some challenge quests but just don't know how? Tired of seeing this stupid message? Well, my fellow FGO professional, maybe all you need is a tank. Today we will be having a look at my top 5 tanks in FGO. Tanks are quite rare to come by, and very underrated as well. Before we start, I know a lot of you will complain, but I don't count Jan as a tank. Don't get me wrong, I think she's an amazing servant, but just not a tank in my opinion. Secondly, I am only ranking these servants with their tanking capabilities, so a servant might be able to do more than tanking, but that doesn't matter on this list. Also, the order of this list can be changed depending on the situation. Anyways, let's start. Coming at number 5, it's the king of Sparta himself, Leonidas. This guy has been a solid tank since day 1. Even though he has a basic kit, his first skill is a taunt coupled with a massive NP gain buff for 3 turns. To no one's surprise, he has big gains. This NP gain buff should not be ignored since it is second only to a certain Kohei's third skill. Second skill, which got buffed, it's now a guts on a massive uptime. It's also stackable. Also, for 3 turns, whenever he activates a guts, he will give an attack up for all allies. This is such a cool skill. Last skill is a buster up for all allies on a high uptime. Solid skill, nothing crazy. His NP, which is a cry of help to get an animation update. Besides that, it gives a 3-turn taunt and defense up, plus a good star bomb. Because of the taunt and his first skill that gives him epic gains, it's not hard to get his NP back quite easily. Overall, a very solid choice for tanking, with some offensive utility as well. Coming up at number 4, to some people's surprise, it's Percival. Now, the only reason he's not higher on the list is because you haven't clicked the like and subscribe button to catch my latest videos and help out the channel. Besides that, I think he's an amazing servant, like EX rank, but that's because of his arts farming potential, which I am not taking into account here. Anyways, his first skill is good arts and NP buff for 3 turns along with the NP battery. This skill is amazing and helps him a lot when farming. Second skill is a 3-turn taunt that increases his NP gen when hit on a high uptime. This is where his tanking comes from. The 3-turn taunt is amazing, but don't ignore the NP gain buff, as his NP does help him with tanking and we will see why later. Third skill is a targetable invincibility with a heal. This just makes him better at tanking. His NP, which grants ignore invincibility and NP damage up for 1 turn, then deals damage to all enemies and recover the HP of the ally with the lowest HP, which, if you are tanking properly, will usually be him. Overall, an amazing servant that I can't wait for when he comes to the NA server. Coming up at number 3, it is George, the good old reliable. Despite never receiving a buff, he is one of the best tanks in this game. His first skill is a self-taunt for 3 turns coupled with a very good defense buff on a high uptime. This is an amazing skill. It enables him to tank like an absolute Chad. Despite having low HP because of his rarity, 40% is no joke, and if he has class advantage he'll hardly take any damage at all. Second skill is a heal with mental buff resistance on high uptime. This enables him to tank enemies' mental debuffs as well. Great synergy. Wish it was any debuff and not only mental ones. Third skill is a guts, which works well with his skill set. His NP, which makes him apply the dragon trait to an enemy and deal decent damage. This allows him to be best friends with some dragon slayers. It also increases his defense for 1 turn. So for 1 turn he will have 60% defense up, which is amazing, especially for a 2-star. His bond CE shouldn't be overlooked as well. Even after dying he still protects everyone. What a Chad. Coming at number 2, and a lot of you will disagree with me on this, it is Dion, aka Charles Genevieve Louis Auguste Andre Timothée Dion de Beaumont. Rolls right off the tongue. This servant is one of the most underrated in my opinion. His first skill is a Mind's Eye True, which is a solid hard defense with a defense up for 3 turns. Second skill is a debuff cleanse along with 100% debuff resistance for 3 turns. Third skill is a taunt for 3 turns along with a heal. His skill set is so simple, but they have amazing synergy. Don't underestimate the debuff resistance. He basically becomes debuff immune for 3 turns coupled with the third skill. He will just tank all the damage and debuffs for 3 turns. which is amazing in challenge quests. His NP, which got buffed, lowers attack and defense of all enemies with low chance to apply charm. This NP is quite weak. However, if you have a high NP level of him, it's actually quite decent. Overall, a very solid servant who I think is massively underrated. And finally, coming up at number 1. I mean, everyone saw this coming. It's Benkei. Benkei is without a doubt the best tank in the game. He's so good and no one can argue.
You serious?
No. Coming up at number 1. To no one's surprise, it's Mash. Mash is just amazing. The amount of protection this girl can provide is insane. First skill is an amazing defense buff for all allies on a high uptime. Second skill is a targetable NP battery with invincibility. And third skill is a taunt with the stupidest level of NP gain in the game. Literally one arts crit can give her full NP gauge when this buff is active. No one in the entire game comes even close to half of that. Her NP gives an amazing defense buff along with a solid attack up for all allies but herself. Which doesn't matter since she's not meant to deal damage anyways. Also, she costs nothing to bring her in the party. This alone puts her above so many servants. Hence why I put her as number 1. Again, show your Kohei some love. Do you guys agree with the list? We can discuss that in the comment section. I think tanks are underrated. Speaking of underrated, I think Steno is a very underrated servant as well. You can check out why I think that way in this video. Be sure to also check out my Servant in 60-second series. That's it for this video. Now like and subscribe for this shitty channel. Bye.